everybody, welcome back to my channel, Mompetitor by Mimi Narte. So just yesterday I posted a video about why I was going to be keeping my son home from school. He attends traditional public elementary school, and I talked about the risks that were posed to me as a person who's asthmatic in lieu of the imminent coronavirus pandemic. So today I wanted to kind of follow up. Thankfully, our district has decided that school will be closed for a certain amount of time starting on Monday. So today I thought it would be a really appropriate follow-up video if I just talked about 5 tips for emergency homeschooling. If you follow my channel, you know that this year I started homeschooling my middle school daughter. It was my first time deciding to homeschool, but my son is still in traditional school. And I have a couple of videos explaining why I decided to pull her out of middle school at this moment to do homeschool and why he's still in traditional school. But what I haven't really shared before is that we almost were in an emergency homeschool situation with my daughter. We had applied early to a couple of different places, but I was really leaning towards the homeschooling model, the homeschooling hybrid model. She actually attends a homeschool hybrid program that's offered through a charter school near to us. But the thing about charter school is that it's a lottery. And so when we initially applied, we were placed at number 35 on the wait list. So I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. And I got so many people who were encouraging me, telling me, don't worry, she'll get in. 35 is a great number in a wait list. But as the school year approached, I got more and more nervous. And what I realized I was gonna have to do is probably accept the fact that I was going to have to homeschool full-time initially and wait for her to come off of the wait list. As it got closer and closer, we got down to number 17 and then down to number 9. So it seemed like just after the school year started at some point, maybe a few weeks or a month in, we would get the call that she would have a spot in the school. But in the meantime, I was kind of thrown into it without really any support. And so, out of our greatest struggles comes our greatest testimonies. Now here is a situation where many of you are kind of thrown into homeschooling. Luckily not without no support, because I think, at least in our school district, they're doing a good job of providing work and curriculum for parents at home so that they can supplement and continue the learning with their students at home. But I just wanted to share 5 tips for like a crash course in homeschooling. My first tip for you is actually just work on your mindset. Get your mind right, accept what the circumstances are, and actually move beyond just acceptance to really throwing yourself into it enthusiastically and knowing that you are capable of doing this. You can do this. The same thing that makes homeschool feel like an insurmountable challenge is kind of the same thing that we struggle with as moms anyway, which is just a feeling of inadequacy. We feel like we are not well equipped to do our jobs as mothers often, unfortunately, and then especially when it comes to teaching our own children. But you know what? We have what it takes. We have amazing executive functioning skills. We are extremely resourceful. We love and care about our students, who are our children in this case, and we can do it. So tip number 1, super simple, super easy. Just know that you've got this. My second tip for you is really interesting. It's just that you should understand that homeschool is not just traditional school done at home. So I think that was probably the steepest learning curve for me, was that I was thinking I was going to have to implement the school day at home, but there are so many other possibilities in homeschool, and you are not actually having to adhere to the same schedule as a traditional school. So there's a lot of opportunity to be really flexible and creative in the way that you're going to set up the day and things that you're going to emphasize in terms of learning. I would also share that my mindset as a homeschooling mom is more of an emphasis on teaching skills rather than just delivering curriculum. There's a little bit of a nuance difference there, because we still are following through on a curriculum, and I still want to make sure that there are some things that the students are learning, my children are learning, my daughter in particular are learning, that are measurable and that we're able to evaluate and we're able to see and mark progress. But what I more emphasize are the particular skills that I want to make sure that my daughter, when she's in her homeschooling hybrid program, has access to, and even over the next few weeks that I'll have my son at home, that he has access to. So I look at places where they need work or need improvement, areas where they have weaknesses, and also areas where they have strengths that I might be able to help them lean into during the time that we have at home in a lower student to teacher ratio setting. So what this can look like is, for example, asking your children to do oral presentations to summarize the things that they're reading. So that way you can help them with their presentation skills while you're at home, and also give them feedback and support one-to-one on something like that. Also, because homeschool is not traditional school, you can be really lateral in your thinking about what is learning. And there are different ways that you can enhance the learning, especially with the resources that are available to us right now, that can make it more fun and more interesting. Baking, cooking, those things can be learning. Fixing something that's broken can be learning. Gardening is another example of something that can be learning. I'm throwing out these different examples because I think in addition to the curriculum that's going to be sent home, you should think about possibly developing an anchor activity for every day or every other day, or if it's something quite large, on a weekly basis that you can do, that you kind of center your learning and your activity around at home, which keeps the flow moving forward. So kind of connected to this idea of developing some sort of central project for the day or for the week that's going to keep your learning moving forward in addition to the curriculum that's sent home, is my third tip, which is just the idea that you need to implement some systems to make this work. Develop a routine. Part of what makes homeschooling great is the flexibility, but that can also be the trap. I really encourage you to get up, get dressed, start the day, and actually start your learning process at a fairly set time every day. There are basically 3 elements that I really highly suggest that you execute on for this emergency homeschooling time period for your family. The first one is time blocking. So again, it has to do with getting up, getting yourself ready, and getting yourself in the mindset to learn. So I encourage you to block the time during the day, and you can do that with your children so that they understand pretty much what to expect at different points in the day, which will bring harmony to everybody's life. A second suggestion that I have is really developing a value system for your homeschool classroom. So this is something that isn't going to take a lot of time, but it is going to have a big impact in the way that you do things. I think that at the beginning of next week, when we sit down to figure out what our homeschool model is going to be, it would be a great, fun, and simple activity to have the kids brainstorm what they want their homeschool classroom to be like. What are the values that they appreciate in their homeschool classroom? And I did this with Laya. Together we set the values for our learning environment, the values for the students, and the values for the instructor. So that was just something that I think is great because it kind of gets us on the same page, and it's participatory with the children so that we all establish that we have rules of engagement and we have a culture and a code of conduct even at homeschool. The final element of establishing a routine that I really suggest is a reward system. So I have this reward system, and hopefully you guys can see this. It's kind of funny. They're my mom bucks. So that's actually my image that's on my mom dollar, and my children earn mom bucks for good behavior, for execution or completion of work, whether it's work that we do in homeschool or work that comes home from school in my daughter's hybrid program or from my son's traditional school, or whether it's just good behavior, positive attitudes, sharing, being kind to one another. So this is the reward system that we have in place. As far as a discipline system, I also have laid out for them a task list that they need to execute on a daily basis to kind of be in compliance, earn a mom dollar, and or be able to spend time on electronic devices or watch television. So this is a list of things like, have you made your bed today? Have you practiced your instrument today? Have you done supplemental math today? And if you can check off all of those things, then we can move on to potentially playing Minecraft for an hour or so. So that's kind of what I have in place as far as a discipline system. I've pretty much used the same discipline system since my daughter was really very small. I found that it's a lot less stressful because it's not a contest of egos. The system is posted on the wall somewhere, and it's pretty straightforward. You are able to do X, Y, or Z if 1, 2, and 3 are completed, and if not, so be it. The system kind of implements itself. So it's one where we don't have a lot of back and forth on finishing the task that you need to do. My fourth tip for emergency homeschool is to really parcel out your instruction time versus your independent work time appropriately. So with my daughter who's in 6th grade, what I do is about 10 minutes of instruction to 20 minutes of independent work. We like to say that homeschool is great because it's a 1-to-1 ratio, one student, one teacher, but I like to think of it as a 1.5-to-1 ratio, especially for where she is in terms of her age and capability. I see that she is needing to take responsibility for her own learning progress and process, and that's part of what I want to support her in being able to do in homeschool. So I think, for my son, it's about the same thing. Maybe it's about 10 minutes of instruction to about 15-ish minutes of independent work because he's 7 years old and in second grade. But just think about it that way. It's not that you need to sit with them through the entire lesson. There should be a moment where you are able to deliver the instruction, and then they should be able to work pretty independently. If they have questions, of course, they can approach you with those questions. But outside of a time where there's a concept that is really missing my children, this is kind of the model that I use for instruction. And my final tip is to just use your resources. Even though this is a difficult time, to be honest, we've never been in a better time to be able to stand in the gap in terms of our kids' education. There are so many resources available online for specific concepts. We often use videos from Khan Academy or Flocabulary. There's just a wide range of different things that are available for students if they are struggling with a concept or if they want to enhance their learning. So definitely the internet is your friend. Also, I encourage you to connect with other parents and children that are in the same class, the same grade, so that way you can create a collaborative around the work that you have to execute on. I know that I probably wouldn't have felt so fantastic about my decision to homeschool had I not found another mom that I'm able to teach a collaborative with on a weekly basis to our children. We teach 2 classes in a collaborative model, so the 2 of us work together to develop and implement the curriculum. I think the same thing applies for this situation, even though it's a short time period. Connect with the other parents that are in your class, get a group text chain going, or use some other kind of app device, maybe Slack, or there's several out there now, so that the communication can keep up on a subject by subject basis, so that you can feel supported and that you can get questions answered if you have them. So just a quick recap, just remember you are capable of doing this, you've got this. The second thing that I just want to emphasize is that homeschool is not just traditional school that you implement at home. You have freedom and flexibility to kind of make it your own and take advantage of that, even for a short time period. Make sure that you develop a good, strong routine, time block, establish what the value systems are and the culture is going to be of your homeschool classroom, and then set up a reward and discipline system that you can implement to make everybody's life a lot easier for the next couple weeks. Remember also to set the appropriate ratios of instruction to independent work. That's also going to make your life a lot easier. And finally, do not forget to use your resources. Leave a comment here, reach out to me if you have questions. I'm learning as I go, but I am extremely resourceful and I do a lot of research, so I can probably help support the process over the next couple weeks if you need help. Thanks so much for watching.